I want to talk to you about your year. You've been waiting for a long time, and this is it. There's been a bullseye in the center of this year since you figured out that it was your year. So take a minute and think about when you figured out that it was your year. Were you in elementary school and you counted forward and figured out 2012? Or were you in 9th grade and people started calling you class of 2012 or 2012? Whenever it was, I can bet that it seemed so far away. That was a year so far it was hard to believe it would ever even come. And now here it is. So it's worth thinking about this, because this is not just a day this year. It's a whole year that is your year. And you need to claim it and make it extraordinary from the very beginning of it to the very end of it. Now see what you're going to have in this year, this 2012, or in your later life what you'll just call it as 12. There are 3 chunks. There's from now until May 30th when you graduate, the day you launch. There's the summer, which is going to be extraordinary. This free summer where you're through with that, you haven't started that, and it's a wonderful time. It could be the best summer of your life if you choose for it to be. And then there's here, from August to December 31st again. And this is a big change. This is very exciting as you become a college student. It's an extraordinary time too. But the thing is about this year is that for the rest of your life, you're going to be saying this number. I'm going to let you in on a little adult secret. Somewhere in our mid-20s, we stop asking people, how old are you? And what we do instead is we say, when did you graduate? We never mean college, because college can be different times for different people. What we mean is, when did you finish high school? Because then we establish our commonalities. We know that everybody finished high school about 18. And we know that it's in those years that our musical interests come alive, and our pop cultural interests, and our book interests, and movies, and all those things that help to define us, we share with that group of people. So if somebody asks me, when did you graduate? And we find that our graduation years are close in the same few years, we'll start talking about, oh, do you remember? And that gives us a place to start our relationship. If someone asks me and I find out that we're 10, 15 years apart, well, that doesn't mean we can't be friends. But it means that we have different things in common. Here's an example. I know this is going to sound ancient, but I graduated, I was in the class of 73, 1973. Yeah, I'm old. And if I talk to somebody and I say, when did you graduate? And they say, I graduated in 88. And I say, oh, I graduated in 73. Well, I know several things. I know that my generation was defined by 3 assassinations that happened very close together and made us think the world was coming to an end. I remember it vividly. I was in elementary school when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and then Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, and Martin Luther King was assassinated, and it rocked our world in a serious way. And on up into high school, I remember friends' brothers going to Vietnam, and I remember my brother having a draft lottery number and being worried every year when they pulled those lottery numbers whether or not he would be sent to Vietnam. I remember when Vietnam ended. I remember the music that was full of protests, and it started as easygoing folk music and ended up as heavy acid rock. So it doesn't mean that we can't be friends. But you see all those things that I had that defined my youth? Well, I know that that person who graduated in 88 didn't experience any of that. And in fact, when they were graduating from high school, I was already married with children and in my career. So we're not going to have our music in common, and we're not going to have our pop culture in common. In fact, I hardly remember the 80s because I was so busy with little children. And that person was just into that music. Well, that person graduated from high school and was in high school during a time of peace. It was not a time of war. The 80s music had settled down quite a bit. From what I hear, it was not that great, but I don't know. I don't remember it. So what we have to do is find different places of intersection in our lives so that we can become friends. Doesn't mean that we can't become friends. We just have a different job to figure that out. It might be where you're from, and we might be from the same area, or we might know people. maybe that person also went to Clemson just in a later year, and I can say, oh, did you have Dr. Reel for history? Oh, yes, I did. Well, do you remember that classroom? And so maybe we find those things. These are the things that establish friendships, where you find common ground. My point is this. For the rest of your life, people are going to be asking you, when did you graduate? And so you're going to be calling up this number for the rest of your life. Now, you're not going to be saying in conversation the year you were born, or the year that you got your first car, or the year you got married, or the year you had your first child. You will be saying the year that you graduated from high school. And if you're going to be saying a year that many times, then let me tell you, it is a year worth making extraordinary from the very beginning to the very end, not just one day. Here's what's going to happen in this year. This is you. And on May 30th, 2012, you're going to launch. You're going to take off. You're in that rocket. And you're going to take off. And you're going to start a whole new life. And that's really exciting. But it reminds me of something that happened to me many years ago. And I've always been one to try to become wise. Wisdom is something I've always sought to attain. And one of the ways I've learned to become wise is to take experiences that happen to me and to figure out my life lesson from that. What's my takeaway? How can I take what happened to me there, whether it was a big thing or a seemingly insignificant thing, and turn that around and build a life lesson around it that might make me a better human being or a wiser human being? And so here's that little story. My first year teaching, I had a brand new, cute Mustang II car. I loved that car. That was what I got for college graduation. I was still paying for it, but my father helped me buy it. And I was in my first teaching job in Orangeburg. And I went to a gas station. I filled up the car with gas. And then as I drove off the lot, I barely got off of the lot. I didn't even get to the stoplight. And my car died. It absolutely died. It wouldn't even go run, run, run. Nothing. Would not move. Had to have the car towed. And what I found out was that it had been, I filled up with gas where they had just recently put gas into that tank. Here's a side lesson. If you drive into a gas station and you see a big tanker filling up an underground tank with gas, do not pump gas from that tank. Because what happens is the pressure of that gas going in stirs up the sediment in the bottom. If you pump that gas and you get trash in your fuel line. Well, that's what happened to me. I had trash in my fuel line and it just clogged it up and it wouldn't go. Because the car has to have good fuel to be able to go. Clean, moving fuel in order to go. So I had to have the car towed. We had to have the fuel line replaced. It was a big mess. It was expensive. It delayed me from getting where I needed to go. In fact, it canceled the plans that I had. Well, it took me a while to think about that and figure out what can be my life lesson from this. Because it seemed like it was an incredible inconvenience, a very frustrating experience, and kept me from something I wanted to do. But here's what I figured out finally. Very simple. When you put trash in your fuel, you will not reach your destination. This is your fuel. This is your launch. Now, what is trash in your fuel? Well, from now until May 30th, your fuel, doing what you need to do, when you need to do it. It's going to be so hard because you don't want to do it. And you're going to want to say, can I take that 0 and still make an okay grade in that class? Yes, I think I can. That's trash in your fuel. Breaking a relationship with somebody that really mattered to you all the way through high school and letting one little thing break apart a friendship. Making a bad decision at somewhere, whether it's prom or anywhere else, that you'll live to regret. All those things are trash in your fuel. It could be bad feelings, bad decisions, bad procrastination, bad relationships, any of those things, that's trash in your fuel. Now, will you launch? Oh yeah. On May 30th, there's no doubt in my mind you will launch. You will leave this place. But if you're judged only by the fact that you launched, then you're missing the point. I left the gas station. I launched. If that were the only element of judgment, I would have passed. I would have been fine. But I did not reach my destination. I left the station but I was stopped along the way because I had trash in the fuel. What I'm challenging you is to not put trash in your fuel. Some of you have big plans. You want to go to graduate school, master's degrees, PhDs, MDs, JDs, law school. There's all kinds of things that you have that are dreams. And I'm telling you, this is where you have to decide whether or not to put trash in your fuel or keep it clean. As you move out of this phase of your life and you go into the summer, oh, it's a great summer because your eyes are on this one that comes next. It's at this point people are going to begin asking you on that college campus, when did you graduate? And you'll say, 2012. Please make sure that when you say that number over and over and over, that you have a little moment of pause and think, 2012. That was a great year from start to finish. Don't let it be, it was a good first part of the year, but man, that car I got for graduation, I made some bad mistakes. I wrecked that car and ended up on probation, or I got to college that year and got in with some wrong stuff and just went too crazy with all that freedom, or didn't do what I was supposed to do and ended up on academic probation, or I see that all the time. I've been teaching long enough that I see students that I had years ago. I don't go anywhere that I don't run into former students. And some of them just flat out break my heart because they say, oh, Ms. Jackson, I'm going to go back to tech. Good, I hope you do. But see what that tells me, a little piece of me just breaks off inside because it tells me it's not the going to tech that's a problem. Go to tech, that's great. It's the going back to tech. Because going back to tech tells me they launched, but somewhere they didn't get to their destination. Now sometimes there are life circumstances that happen that are beyond your control. That doesn't mean that you put the trash there. Life sometimes puts trash there, and you do what you can to work around it. I'm talking about what's in your control. So here's what I want you to do. I would like for you to consider all of this. I want you to consider that this is your year and there's only a very small, slim percentage of the population of the world that shares this with you. Nobody else. Just those of you who are launching in 2012. It's your year. And you need to make it spectacular, start to finish. I'd like for you to get a sheet of paper and I want you to write a letter to yourself. I want you to put it in an envelope, seal it, and on the outside, to be opened New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2012. Or you can choose to open it on New Year's Day, 2013, when the year is over. I want you to write in that letter a letter to yourself. What, as you sit now at the beginning of your year and you look ahead, what do you hope that you gain? What do you hope that you achieve? What do you think that you might be doing? Not will you still be boyfriend with that girl or girlfriend with that boy or whatever those little relationships, but what kind of person will you be? What will you have accomplished? What will you have done in this very significant year of your life? I want you to wait then. Put it somewhere in your house that you know where it will be. In my house, it's going to be the side of the refrigerator because you put anything on the side of the refrigerator and then the door that comes in there, that stuff will be there 5 years from now. So I know right where I would put it. You may need to put a reminder in your phone if you're going to have that phone a year from now, or in your Google Calendar or whatever you keep that will send you a reminder a year from now saying, don't forget to open that letter, read it to yourself. And here's where it is, by the way. It's in the second drawer of the desk on the right-hand side. Either way, I want you to wait for a year to read that letter. When you read the letter, I want you to think about your year. Did you make it extraordinary? And then let me know. You'll know my email address. I'll still be here. Send me an email and let me know how your year went. Bottom line, it is your year. From now to the end of it, it's yours. It is your choice to do with it what you want. It is your choice to make it extraordinary. It is your choice to be able to say, you know, I have not done these things all along that I've wanted to do, but here in this year, in my year, this is the year I'm going to do it. This is the year I'm going to reinvent myself. This is the year I'm going to become what I said I wanted to be. This is the year where my dreams are going to come into clear focus and I'm going to move forward. And I challenge you to make this year extraordinary. It is, after all, the only one you're going to get like this. Happy New Year.